Hey, it's Adele from Let's Get Inkie, and I'm back. I had my little 6 week hiatus. I am pre recording this though, so I do not know how Bub is, and I cannot tell you her name yet, but keep an eye on my Instagram if you want the latest updates on the new little inklet to join our family. Today I'm working in my junk journal. So this page follows on from the previous junk journal video that I left on, and I will admit I struggled at the start of this one. I had an idea in mind, and then it just didn't work out because I hadn't used this deli paper before, and I did something a little silly. I started painting black on it, thinking it would be okay, but it actually altered the look of the page on the other side because deli paper is so thin, and I really wish I hadn't have done it. I wish I'd tested it first on a scrap piece of painted deli paper, but I didn't, and you live and you learn. So I struggled because I got to this point and I was like, what on earth am I going to do on that right hand side of the page? Because I can't add paint, sorry, because it's going to seep through to the other side and show. I can't write on it because it's going to ghost and bleed through like it has here. What on earth am I going to do? So I thought, hey, why not grab a paint colour that you're really uncomfortable with just to continue the conundrum that you're in? So I grabbed some orange paint and I did a bit of an ombre style of painting. I haven't gessoed either of these pages. One of them is a glossy book page from, I think it's a kid's encyclopedia, and I knew that because I was using acrylic paint like I did on the previous page, I didn't really need to gesso because acrylic paint sticks a lot easier to paper than mediums like watercolor and spray inks, that kind of thing. So I thought, when in doubt, you can always cover it up. That is my motto. My two mottos are stick and plonk, and you can always cover it up. And I thought I would just choose a really giant collage image from a magazine that I liked and figure out a way to make that right hand side of the page work. So I chose this image, and the reason why I chose this image is because I thought it was quite a bold image, but it wasn't too detailed, if that makes sense. I wanted something that was a really bright colour. Blue and orange are contrasting colours, and so I knew that the blue would really pop against the fluoro orange. And so that it was the perfect choice for this page. And you can also see the little tiny peak of blue up the top of the page following this one. So I've sped this bit up quite considerably because it does take a while to stencil, and my hand was going to fall off at the end of this. I was using some white gesso, and I think it's a Vicky Bouton stencil, I think, and a makeup sponge. I'm just going through and adding a bit of a scattering of pinwheels across my page, drying those with my heat gun. I've been using white gesso as my white paint a lot lately, and I love the way it looked, but the orange was just a little too intense. It was a lot, peeps. It's not coming up as much on camera, but my gosh, it was smacking me in the face and I needed to tone it down. So I added a little bit of watered down white gesso over the top, and then because the book paper was so glossy, I was able to just rub it back a little bit and just kind of mute the boldness a little bit. I do love bright colors, but it was a lot. It really was. So then I have sped this piece up very, very fast because it took a little while to doodle around the outside of all these little pinwheels, and I just wanted to do that because I felt like it echoed the writing on her coat, and I often like to do this to stencils. You can see in my previous junk journal video, and it's peeking over the right hand side of that corner of the page there. I do often trace around the outline of my stencils with my white Uniball Signo Broad gel pen. So I'm just going through and adding those very messily, very doodly, because I like the way that looks. And then I was like, okay, this is great, but what next? I really had no idea. And I will admit, I did almost give up on this page. I just wasn't sure where it was going and why it was going that way. In the end, I love the way it turned out, but it was one of those pages that I just didn't feel confident about. And I think that it's all right to have those pages. If we do have moments where our creative mojo dips or our confidence dips as well. And I was definitely having one of those days. And I think the biggest thing that I try to do is I try to remember that every art journal page has an ugly stage, and it has a stage where things don't make sense and it doesn't look cohesive. It doesn't look like things belong together. And in the end, it might stay in that stage for a very, very long time. And in the end, you might just cover up the whole page with black paint, and that's okay. It's all right to have those pages. I've had many pages where I have just ended up covering up the whole thing with black paint, or added a lot of stenciling to cover up what I'd done in previous layers, sorry, not levels. But this one, it took a little while. So I paused the camera and I found this poem out of I think it was out of a Daphne's diary. And I really liked it because it was all about, it was called Cold, and it kind of had a bit of a loneliness vibe. And although I wasn't feeling exactly what the poem was feeling at this point when I made it, I was feeling a little lonely at this time. I hadn't caught up with my friends for a long time, and when you work from home, it's pretty hard when you're your own boss and you don't have any employees. You kind of just talk to yourself. And so I was in a bit of a lonely patch, and this poem, although it talked a lot about someone being away and not being close to a specific person, I was just kind of getting the vibe, and that worked for my journaling for this page. And I also thought that line that says, but until then I'll feel blue, worked out really well because she's wearing her blue coat, and I just thought it matched. So I'm looking at my page and I'm thinking the left side and the right side, although they have those pinwheely bits that coordinate across the two sides, they need something else to bring them together. And so I grabbed some blue acrylic ink and I decided to do some splatters. Now, the sensible thing to do would have been to put a piece of baking paper or a piece of scrap paper underneath my page so that I didn't splatter everywhere, but I didn't. Learn from my mistakes. But I just wanted to add a little bit of splattering here and there. And like I said before, blue is a contrasting colour to orange, and so they work really well together, and the blue definitely popped out, and I think it just made it work well together. So if you take anything from this video, just know that pages don't always go in the direction that we intend them to go in, that every page has an ugly stage. Some are short, some are long, some are forever, and we can just cover them up and just start all over again, because I think it's fun to create pages where you haven't got the perfect end result already in your mind. It's fun to just go with the flow and see what your brain comes up with. All right, peeps, thanks for joining me today. So I am back to my usual YouTube schedule. I've been staying consistent over on Patreon, but took my 6 weeks off YouTube. So there will be a video also on Inkie Quill today. So make sure you check out that on my main channel as well. Until next time, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.